Thank you very much for joining our Heal Venture Lab podcast. So here we have Dr. Suling from A-Star and Dr. Nares from TCELS. I think this will be a very interesting session because we're seeing a lot of interesting developments in both countries. And definitely, I think I will hear from you guys. You guys are both, in the respective senior roles and developing the ecosystem. So yeah. So welcome, and maybe we can start with some brief introduction. Yeah.
Okay, perhaps maybe good morning. So perhaps I can go first. Yeah, so my name is Suling. I have been in A-Star for the last 9 years. And before A-Star, I was in a venture capital firm investing in startup companies in the biotech and drug discovery. And before that, I was actually in the agri-tech business too. Yeah, I was doing business development in agri-tech area like agriculture and aquaculture. So that's my background. My PhD is in neurobiology more than 30 years ago. I'm happy to join this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Naresh, please.
Yes. Thank you for having me joining this podcast. My name is Dr. Nares Damrongchai. I am a bioengineer by training, and I've been working in science, technology. I started my career in a laboratory, and then science, technology, policy, and innovation policy making, policy research. Then I was managing a granting agency, or more like ecosystem builder, called TCELS in Thailand for about 8 years. That was 4 years term for 2 terms. And then I moved to the private sector. I was CEO of a biotech company for cell and gene therapy in Thailand. And yes, that was what I was doing. And I'm happy to share whatever experience I have.
Hey, thank you very much. So maybe we'll start with Dr. Naresh. Dr. Naresh, I think last time I invited you for the previous episode, and you shared actually quite a bit about the how the T cells, how you joined, and what kind of initiatives you promoted. But maybe for this episode, you can also kind of share that, and then maybe after that, what kind of opportunities you see now in Thailand. And maybe after that, I'll have Dr. Suling give a feedback on that. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll start. Well, Thailand, well, as long as we stick to the topic of life sciences and biotechnology, we have actually, for research and development, we have been establishing this system for granting and research using governmental money for already 50, 60 years ago, I guess. But for biotechnology, it actually started around the 80s, the 1980s. And we separated between health and agricultural, time, because well, according to the sectors, they're totally separated and different. But then we realized that the technology, as long as it deals with the living system, they share, right? Like the genetics, for example. So in the 1980s, something very significantly happened. We established a national R&D house called the National Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. I had the honor of joining them as a researcher in the 90s. But so and then they at the same time, we also started electronics and computer research centers, material technology center, and so on. And then later joined under one umbrella called the National Science and Technology Development Agency. So what we try to do is to try to build up homegrown technology and innovation through research. And this research started in the public sector, mainly universities. Then later in the 2000s, another change happened because Thailand didn't want only to build up its own know-how and technology. We wanted to be part of the global value chain. So this is the shift in the thinking, and that is why TCELS was established. TCELS was established to put Thailand as part of the value chain based on the research, the strength. It doesn't need to be only research. I'm talking about the whole ecosystem of uh, let's say clinical trials and animal research, preclinical development, drug discovery, market, expansion, and so on. So all of these things are connected through the value chains. So when we realized that the government decided to start it to build the ecosystem for Thailand as one part of the global player. Okay. And then later, around 10 or 20 years, more like 10 years, the recent 10 years, it shifted again to focus on more, I would say, agile kind of team building, which lead to the boom of the startups and the tech ventures investment. This has only been about 10, 15 years. So, and we started to see, for example, corporate venture capitals, and this includes some major banks. The banks also invested. They try to get out of their own business model of banking into investing in high risk ventures with different level of success. I could share with that later. But so this is what have been developing in Thailand for the last decades. One final point, we look back at the health system in Thailand, and we boast one of the probably the best healthcare system that cover the universal health coverage in Thailand, which started in also the early 2000s, the same time as the government started TCELS and done by the same government. Okay. With that, Thailand completed its healthcare system because before that we only had the civil servant system. Okay, if you're a civil servant, you are covered. If you're not, you have what came later as the social security system, which covers people who are employed mainly, right? But what about entrepreneurs, farmers who are not employed, right? So that completed the last jigsaw puzzle of the healthcare system. At the moment, we try to bring whatever innovation we can come up with, the technology to serve that healthcare system, instead of depending on foreign drugs, imported drugs, and medical devices. That is a brief history.
Okay, thank you. So you were in TCELS until I think what year? What year were you there? What year were you there till?
2020. 2020.
2020. Remember you said in the last episode that you were like looking at different partnerships, like developing local like molecules, right? In using like companies like Takeda, like a big industry players to develop,
Yes.
and also kind of develop the homegrown drug R&D capabilities, right? And of course, you also said that they're more focused on cell and gene therapy and medical, minimally invasive devices, right? But this was during your time, right? So what happened since then? Like how has it progressed after your time?
Okay. So I might have to expand a little bit more
Mm,
on what this says. When we look back during the time that I was at TCELS,
mm,
I realized that there's a lot of good research in the universities. Okay. Um, Particularly because we have the foundation of health and medical research during, after the World War II, with the help of US and then later Japan. What we lacked was the, I would say, modern pharmaceutical industry that could support our own. Of course, we do have generic drugs companies. Okay, and these are family business. They started from family business. Some of them grown into listed companies today, but still, the 10, 15 years ago, they were still focused on cheap drugs because that is how our system was designed. We wanted cheap drugs to serve the whole population. So this is what the government invested in. Okay, not innovation, not much anyway, but availability and certain quality. Okay, but when we look at we had some very early stage drug discovery research, but it couldn't develop beyond that because we lacked the knowledge, the know-how of private companies. They were non-existent in Thailand, but that started to change with the coming of companies like Siam Bioscience, and then vaccine companies, Biotech Asia, and then many companies that are flourishing at the moment in Thailand. But at that turning point, I realized that we need to learn to acquire the later stage drug discovery, from lead to they were not even lead, they're pre-leads. So that's when I decided to discuss with the Japanese Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association. Okay, are you interested in natural products drug discovery? They did an internal survey among their members, and then after almost a year, they came back and said, we are interested, and they showed the list of companies. Not all of them, because most of them are chemical drugs, but some of them are interested in going back to natural products like herbal medicine, natural molecules. We believe that they have high potential, especially marine molecules, marine origin molecules. So we formed a structure where I brought in Thai universities, some Thai companies, research centers like the Biotech I mentioned earlier. And from the Japanese side, they have some companies joining, all are members of the JPMA. We also have Taiwanese companies joining. They were building up their own not library, but database of molecules that they're mature enough to strike a deal with pharmaceutical companies in Japan. So with these three countries, well, Taiwan maybe not exactly a country, but three members, we jointly, and between Thailand and Japan, we try to build capacity for Thai researchers and private researchers to move beyond molecule discovery into real drug discovery. Okay, and from drug discovery to development and manufacturing. Okay, unfortunately, that program had to stop mainly because of COVID. We sent researchers to Japan for training and so on, and they came here, but that had to stop. And the momentum shifted then, so it has to stop. But that was at least one example of an effort that we tried to build up the companies. Nowadays, we start to see a different initiative with different companies, and they were focusing more on digital, computerized drug discovery, and on genomics and testings, rapid tests. So yeah, the world changed, as we speak. That's why it is quite exciting to see the scene today. But what remains is that we still I would say that we lack the appropriate level of governmental support at this stage. I wish we had more, but and by support, I don't mean funding. Yeah, there are funding at the moment flowing, but I mean more like how we change the ecosystem, the business, the ease of doing business for newcomers, and other things, regulations are included. So that is still needed. That's still much needed. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I mean, so that's more like a holistic view. And definitely, I think the ease of business and I mean, that part is something kind of beyond the life science community, right? The control of the life science community.
We always deal with things that are beyond our control because we don't control them, but they control us.
Of
You
course.
need to do something about it, right?
Yes, yes. In terms of like nowadays I come across a lot of medical device. You share the one company, NervaMed, right? And the entrepreneur came from the University of Minnesota, and he's developing like a pretty innovative device. And also I've even seen a biotech company where the ex-NIH, the US NIH scientist came to develop something like a cancer vaccine, right? What kind of
Yep.
companies do you see now, like
Yeah.
today? Yeah.
You mentioned two companies already. The NervaMed is and they're raising fund right now. Uh, they started with the research in Sirat Hospital, which is the biggest university hospital in Thailand within Mahidol University hospital systems. I think they have 5, 6 hospitals already. And so the medical doctor who started the company then went to Minnesota. Well, he worked for Boston Scientific. So he registered his company in Minnesota, and they were developing a really cool technology. Well, heart cooling system, dealing with heart disease. But then they pivot to look for a very big market of the I can't find the right words to call it, but a device that can clean the bloodstream of um,
The
the
contrast.
substance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the contrast medium.
Yeah.
And okay, so that is in high demand. And so they reach a very important milestone right now. So I think that's very impressive. I think above all, they have a very, very good team. They have a very good team. All of the members are very impressive, and that is something that I haven't seen for years. The other company is by a medical doctor researcher. Yes, went to US and studied and worked and came back for systems biology area. Yes, and the company. Also, another company is called AdGenes, which started from again Sirat Hospital medical doctor. And this one really grew into a cluster of companies doing so many things as genetic testing. They started with non-invasive prenatal testing, which is kind of out of the fashion right now, into genomics and testings. They even started a company to dispatch scientists to company, which is something very cool.
Talent deployment.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're a startup company or you're a big company. You want to hire talents, right? But it's very hard to find, and you need to train them. So this company they train the staff, the researchers and the staff, ready for that's like ready to use. So there's a lot of developments in Thailand that are impressive. in my eye, yes, at least.
So before we go to Dr. Suling's talk, maybe just what are some of the things that the government is looking at now, like some new areas in Thailand?
What are the governments looking at right?
Some newer areas that maybe they'll
Okay,
take, maybe next
I
5 years.
I would mention one,
Hmm.
which is ATMP.
Oh,
Well, for ATMP, I think it really started when I was at TCELS. We started a program called Cell and Gene Therapy. We didn't have the term ATMP at that time, Advanced Therapeutic Medical Products, Medicinal Products. So we called it Cell and Gene Therapy, mainly for new kinds of drugs or tissues. The drugs are like the gene therapy and cell therapy with recombinant DNA, so they can treat cancers, mainly blood cancers, and tissues like wound healing tissues or MSC kind of cell repair and so on. So altogether, we started at TCELS, and then all the medical schools in Thailand, they picked up because we started to see some success with companies like Genomics Bio, which I was the CEO at the time. So all the universities, they compete. So the government step in and say, hey, we will work together. The government will provide not only funding, but also, again, talents, training and standardization, and even the legal system that would accommodate ATMP, which is, started like, when in my time at TCELS, we already, tried this. Anyway, to answer your question, this is one of the hot area that we are moving into. And recently, the government has started an institute, the ATMP Institute, as a centralized body. It's not completed yet, but 5 years ago, we had this Genomic Thailand, starting to sequence the Thai population to find the standard Thai population genome, and that expanded into some companies right now. So at the moment, it would be ATMP that the government is pushing so hard, and in the hope of spinning off research from universities into the private sectors and beyond.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'll have Dr. Suling give some her comments on this. Dr. Suling, this is I don't know if you have a lot of interaction with the Thai ecosystem, but maybe what's your initial thoughts?
No, so thank you, Dr. Nares and Jaemin. So maybe I talk a little bit about A-Star, right? Yeah, and then what do I do in A-Star, and how the Singapore ecosystem is also trying to build the biomedical sciences ecosystem in Singapore here. As you know, in Singapore here, we don't have our very own pharma company, so we really have to work with pharma companies or even start programs from scratch. So A-Star is actually the largest research organization in Singapore here. We are funded under the Ministry of Trade Industry. And because we are funded under the Ministry of Trade Industry, there is some form of economic returns that we have to look at, right? We call that a deliverables. So A-Star, we are funded under the RIE, which happens every 5 years. RIE stands for Research Innovation Enterprise. And for the next RIE 2030, which started on 1st of April this year, is in the tune of Singapore 37 billion, right? And this 37 billion will be going into the public sector, including the A-Star, the universities, and the hospitals, right? And also the Public Research Institute in the area of science and engineering. But today we just talk about biomedical. So in A-Star, we have about more than 6,500 staff, 4,500 scientists. They are actually full-time scientists. Of course, they have joint appointment with the universities because eventually when the PhDs are trained under A-Star, their degree is conferred by the university because A-Star is not a university, right? Yeah. So with the 4,500 scientists, we have about 16 research institutes. Half of them are in the biomedical sciences. But as you know, in the life science area, there is a conversion of technologies, right? In the physical sciences where you can use, for example, new materials. You can use, for example, semicon technologies, quantum technologies to do sensor, for example. So these are the things that A-Star is gearing towards, right? Developing deep tech technologies with joint collaboration. And my role in A-Star is actually Venture Creation and Growth Group. I have been A-Star for 9 years, and my role is essentially translating A-Star IP into new startup companies. Okay. And then we do about 10 to 15 startup every year. And 10 to 15 startup, but about maybe 1/3 of them is more on the biomedical sciences. Yeah. And we have a grant internally in A-Star whereby we can help to translate the technologies to a higher technology readiness level. You call it TRL level, so that when it is a little bit more de-risk when it goes into the spin-off companies. Yeah. And so there are two programs that I've started recently in the last 1 to 2 years. It's because one is called Venture Studio, whereby we work with Venture Studio. We call them venture builders, which have track records in and they have done that for a few years already, and track records they have exited successfully in their companies that they have built. So this why we want to work with these venture builders, because they have the industry knowledge. They are able to invest the seed money into the startup, and also they can help to fill up the initial management team in the startup, right? Yeah. And eventually we work with them very closely to bring the products into clinic. The second program that I started is called Entrepreneur Partnership Program, because as you know, as I mentioned, there is no Singapore pharma company, right? So there is very few entrepreneur. We are opening up to bring serial entrepreneur from overseas to come to Singapore to do startup companies with A-Star, right? The program that I've initiated is called Entrepreneur Partner Program, whereby we would match the scientists to the entrepreneur, and they will come up with a venture building strategy, and then eventually at the end of forming the company, we would expect the entrepreneur to be a co-founder of the company, and that there would be some form of seed funding into the company. Now, that being said, in Singapore, the ecosystem of VC is also getting stronger. We have managed to attract VCs from the Europe and VCs from US to set up presence in Singapore here, whereby they will look at the whole of Singapore IPs and invest into them, into the startup, right? So if you look at drug discovery company, I think in whole of Singapore, there are about 55 to 60 startup companies already in the drug development space. Yeah. And that being said, about talent, I also wanted to highlight that we have a program called T-Up program, whereby we can send our engineers, our scientists to our companies, right? Whether it's startup or small and medium enterprise, whereby they can help to develop technologies within the companies. And the Singapore agency will support majority of the salary, while the companies will pay minority of the salary. After 2 years, the companies have an option to bring in the engineer and the scientists full-time into the company. So in a way, we are also bringing innovation into company. We are also exposing our own scientists and engineers to the industry, right? So they can actually, instead of working in A-Star, they can continue to work and proceed their career into the private sector. Yeah. So talking about national program, we also have national program where we call it EDDC, like Experimental Drug Development Center, whereby we can work with the whole Singapore ecosystem to bring early stage molecules and biologics to pre-IND or early stage clinical trial. Yeah, and then after that, we either form a company or we license to pharma companies. So if you look at EDDC website, there are some track records where we able to license our assets into pharma companies, as well as forming, I think, one or two spin-off companies from the assets that they have developed. Yeah. So these are the things that ASA do, and this is the thing that the whole of ecosystem in Singapore here is helping to develop the biomedical sciences industry.
What are some new areas in Singapore? Dr. Nares mentioned about the ATMP, right? How about in Singapore side? Where do you share some of the new areas that the Singapore is going into?
Okay, so currently we also have set up programs in the area of AI drug discovery, right? Yeah, we have someone from the US to head the program. He just came in. Yeah, and of course, it's not just a wide generic AI drug discovery. There's a specific area that they are looking at. Yeah, and also we have set up a national platform called Nucleic Acid Initiative. It's called NATI, right? Whereby they are funding projects in the ecosystem, whether it's from A-Star or NUS, universities or hospitals in the RNA space for therapeutics, yeah, and as well as manufacturing. So these are the areas that we are going into in the recent years. Yeah.
Okay, so I think it was good to get an overview of the Thailand and Singapore, and I get a better idea of what are some of the new areas. So I think we also want to kind of see like what are some collaboration points between the two countries for sure. But let's also start with some challenges. Like, what are some of the challenges right now in Singapore? I mean, we have a lot of guys that we talk to in our network, but yeah, what are some of the things that could be improved?
So for us, we still feel that companies have difficulty. If you look at biomedical, right, you have companies that have difficulty raising their Series A and beyond. Yeah. So as much as we have early stage VC here, the valley of death is still very clearly is quite clear in our startup companies. Yeah. So one of the ways that they can do is actually license some of their assets or working co-develop with some of the pharma companies to help to validate their platform. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And also as you know, we also lack a certain type of talent that can actually bring to scale up the biomedical sciences company. So that's why we are together with the other agencies, government agencies, we try to bring in talent with special type of visas for them to come and start up companies with us.
Yeah. Just looking at the two countries, I think the Thailand, I think for sure, Dr. Nares, you can chime in, but obviously has a larger population, right? So a lot of the people right now who's some of the entrepreneurs that we see who are developing innovations in Thailand, a lot of them like studied abroad or trained abroad, but they're usually Thai, right? Do you also see a lot of foreigners, or like is there some kind of like a visa program to support? You're on mute. You're on mute. Yeah.
Okay, you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I do see lots of foreigners, especially looking into universities in Thailand, the leading universities, and even not so leading universities, they have influx of overseas students and researchers coming in from, I think, quite prominently from Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos, um, Myanmar. Myanmar, lots of talents from Myanmar coming to study medical science, even to become medical doctors in Thailand. A lot of them. Sometimes with support of the Myanmar government, sometimes from Thai governments, or even without support. Okay. So within the ASEAN, we can see our ASEAN friends coming to study in Thailand as a trend. So in companies, I would say it's both ways. It's like, sorry, the incoming from overseas happens all the time, and Thailand tries to make it easier, even though in the past I have to admit that it hadn't it didn't go very well. We still struggle with our own bureaucratic system. But I think the most recent announcement made by this government, and they are going to streamline the registration and setting up company, asking for permission and approval, all kinds of governmental approval are going to be reduced and in many cases centralized into one single window. And with that, we have to wait and see how it turns out. But I think you don't need to really try to bring in people. Just make the business flow easier and people will come. Companies will come. With companies coming, talents will come. Okay. So this is one of the, I would say, has been the pain point for Thailand so far for incoming. For outgoing talents, I have to mention this too because Su Ling also mentioned this program with including Thailand. But before talking about that, I have to say that regarding talent, we had a program. This was since I was working with the National Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy Office. It's invented there. It's called Talent Mobility. So what Su Ling mentioned is exactly talent mobility, but we started here in Thailand within a domestic workforce. So if a talent in the universities, they want to work for a private company and the private company wants them, they can have that researcher working with the company for years. I think it started with 2 years, but it could be extended if I'm not uh, mistaken. And the good part is that after finishing the term, that university professor or lecturer could come back and continue their tenure within the university. Okay. So this is like a guarantee and assurance. So many companies like that because they don't have to go find themselves, and this is with the support from government. There are some screening process. So we did this within Thailand, and it's called talent mobility, to move talent around instead of all of them, studied very, good degrees from leading universities, come back and have to start within a university. Okay. And now it's like a cross country kind of thing already happened. So and traditionally I have seen, because I went to the US a lot and Europe a lot, Thai talents working overseas at NIH, MHRP, the Military Health Research Program in Washington, D.C. I've seen lots of Thai talents working in the New Jersey area where they're the cluster of life sciences company like pharma companies. Okay. I met lots of talents. I met uh, startup young people um, studying in MIT, Harvard. I went to lecture there once, and so I gathered a meeting. So many Thai students came, and some of them are already about to graduate, and they starting their own company. So and I'm so happy to see that not all, but some of them are coming back to Thailand and establish their companies in Thailand, having all the knowledge, the experience, and even the team uh, in leading countries like the US and Europe. They come back. Okay. In Japan, they come back. And so this is like a two-way street. People come, people go, and eventually I have a feeling that, um, well, maybe because I'm Thai, uh, everyone that I know, they want to eventually come back to Thailand, and they say it's the best place. You get to stay with your families, and the being in Thailand is feels very comfortable. But this will work for our future industry only after they gain some knowledge overseas and they come back. So I did mention the reverse brain drain program. It was initiated by the Ministry of Science and Technology. Reverse brain drain mean that because we know that lots of Thai people, professionals, they work in US and United States and Japan. The reverse brain drain project gives incentives so that they are guaranteed with a secure job and high pay if they come back to Thailand. And this happened since 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, that's what we have done.
Right, very interesting. I have some network in Philippines, so that's something I think they're also talking about that as well. Um, but back to Dr. Suling. Um, actually, some of these programs actually sound quite similar, don't they?
Yeah. So I think there is, I think we are all making efforts to build our own ecosystem. But I think it takes a village, or it takes a few countries to build a successful pharma company, to build a successful biomedical startup. I think there is always opportunity to collaborate. I mean, in A-Star, in Singapore, we have the strength of national platform, and even national programs like manufacturing, what I call that, consortium and all that, who are able to help companies to solve manufacturing problems. So I believe that there are chances of collaboration between Singapore and Thailand. Yeah, I mean, talent is very important, but we also must help the talent to to translate their technologies into products and services that can benefit the patients. So I think, and also I believe that, I know that Thailand has a very good healthcare system, right? Like you say, the medical doctors are very innovative. They think about new ideas to improve healthcare system. I think this is something that Singapore and Thailand can work together.
In Singapore, actually, both me and you, we talked to a lot of startups from Singapore. But like when you talk to a Singapore startup, right? And whenever they talk to investors, etc., one of the first questions they ask a Singapore startup founder is, "Oh, how are you going to go to the other countries, right?" I mean, because the Singapore market obviously is not enough for them to go like scale, so they have to go to other countries. So of course, in Thailand, usually I think investors don't normally ask that question first. They're probably going to talk about how to scale domestically, since there's some like a sizable domestic market, right? But of course, flip side, in terms of funding, of course, you mentioned earlier. I mean, Singapore still is the regional financial hub,
Yeah.
and a lot of funding is available. And I mean, I think I've seen some similar programs that Thai government also has been trying to do as well, which actually is a quite unique, different from other ASEAN countries. So that's on that front. I think, of course, in other Southeast Asian countries, the companies they also come to Singapore for funding at some point. So
Mm.
that's like a strength. In terms of a talent pool, I think both countries are doing different initiatives that fits their unique circumstance. I think Singapore probably has to attract more like overseas talents. I mean, just because with the domestic population, the diaspora is not as big, right? While Thailand, just the way it sounds like, there is some sizable Thai overseas talent who can come back. But of course, they also need some kind of, I think, the like some foreign, I guess, like influx as well, right? Yeah. In terms of domestic the industries, okay, I don't think, but we also have some domestic industries as well. But of course, in terms of like life science, right? Probably like the countries like Thailand probably have some more like domestic, let's say, pharma companies, etc. So these are like a different strength and I guess like weaknesses, and I guess maybe these are some of the collaboration points that each country can take. Yeah. Have you worked a lot with like Thai? I know you talked to. I know you were saying that you were trying to collaborate with some Filipino agencies as well, right? They come to Singapore, right? So have you also had some much interaction with the Thai agencies during your time, and maybe companies? Yeah.
No, I have no opportunities to, but I must say that for any startup companies, they must first think of global, right? I mean, like you say, Singapore market is very small, but I can tell you Southeast Asia market is also not small, right? To
Yeah.
get a population of 600 to 700 million, if you can garner 1% of that market, I think it's already quite substantial. Then you can go globally, right? Either North Asia, Europe, or US. So
Mm.
that's why in the recent some of my startup company, especially in the diagnostic space, right? NGS based diagnostic, we do encourage them to go into the region, right? To offer their services, their lab developed test services in Thailand and Philippines. Yeah. If there is any opportunity for our startup company to venture into this market, I would be happy to do the introduction.
Dr. Narvis, do you come across a lot of Singapore companies wanting to access Thailand?
Yes, I do. I also meet with where I've been going visiting and meeting with people from A-Star Biopolis many times. IPI since the start. I was, having very good relationship with them. And interestingly, there are some programs here in Thailand offered by some incubators and supported by some government money. And I usually become some of their mentors for the startups that join. And I see Singaporean companies all the time. Yeah, most recently last year, I met with a very looking very promising company that had this library of microorganisms that can produce food ingredients very quickly with the combination. They use co-culture system, and so I was matching them with a big food company here. So yeah, that could be one of the example where I can see collaboration happens using the mechanisms of incubators and government funding in the combination.
And how about the Thai startups who want to go to Singapore?
Oh yes, yes, yes. The first thing that they want to register in Singapore.
Yeah.
And perhaps they talk about being listed in the Singapore stock market, um, maybe Hong Kong, and before NASDAQ and those. Um, well, you talked about domestic market, right? Domestic demand. I have something to say about that. Um, Even in Thailand, I would say that it's too small for new technology. Okay, startups with deep tech, new technology. It will be definitely too small considering how much funding they have to raise, and how if they really hit they solve the unmet medical need, it should not be limited, right? So the domestic market is small, and the expansion of successful companies would be to ASEAN at the beginning, right? Um, so as you said, the domestic market would be the place there where they jumpstart. And this is also true for Neuromed, the company that you mentioned before. Luckily, I have seen the public awareness growing in Thailand. The they treat technology as something very a daily thing that they can talk about, right? I remember 20 years ago, I wrote a book, it's somewhere here, about genomics. Okay. And the first one or two chapters explain what is genomics, and but if such books come out today, you don't even have to say that. Everybody already know at the level that they should know. Okay. Um, if you drive a car, you don't need to know everything, how the engine, piston, internal combustion works. You don't need to know that, but you need to do it at the appropriate level. At the same thing. So people know about genomics, they know PCR for sure. Okay, they know antibody. Um, and so it changed so much. Well, I have to say, thanks to COVID, it's what for one thing, thanks to COVID, telemedicine happens thanks to COVID, and it opened doors. That thing opened door. So the public awareness is high, and it makes the job for science communicator easier. And so podcasts, like your podcast, or some podcasts we have in Thailand, they talk freely about new technology for young generation of people. They talk about space exploration and the science behind that. There are YouTube programs, there are events where people, 2-3 days events talking about new innovations, and just normal people, they just come and go. So this is what changed. And one important factor is, I think, because of the generation shift. So young people, they are born with the digital skill already, so they're not afraid of new technology and new terms. And also the skill of communicators, I think, improve. The skills of entrepreneurs, they improve with people, comparing with people at my generation. We are very boring in talking about science and technology and new things, but the new generations, new CEOs, they just hit it to the point. So this is what changed. And one more thing, if I may add, is that when we think about the liberation of science and technology, I think now it's a time that we stop treating it as, the some people, the cream, excellent, Harvard or MIT graduated, and talking the jargons. We have to stop thinking about that, and then move to think about what the general public need, the rest of the public. I think about, yes, when the computer Mac came out, they say that this is the computer for the rest of us, because at that time you have to know the code, the writing, the command line, right? The black screen with the green text, right? So today, biotechnology and life sciences, biomedical science is something that you can consume, and it starts to flow into the industry. So the industry that I'm talking about today is, in Thailand at least, is the wellness industry. Um, well, it used to be very gray, like stem cells and lots of overclaim. But it's getting better and better with more scientific proven. And at the moment I'm working on another secret project about treating diseases with water. You know, it's called balneology. It's so well, you're Korea. In Korea, you have like hot spring, hot spa, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, yes. And in Japan, of course, like they have onsen.
Mm,
Okay. And Japan is now doing a large scale survey on the efficacy of bathing hot water.
mm.
And they're going to come up with the results soon. But this is a cultural thing, and it is one of the reason for the longevity in Japan, so they claim. But they're going to come up with some data to back that up. But in Thailand, we are moving towards that direction of if this is for everyone, it doesn't have to mean that you have to go buy expensive drug unless you have cancer. But okay, for normal people, this is really approachable. You go to some clinics, and you can do your genome sequencing, and you can know your precondition for your future diseases, and you have tons of paper to back up, and you know how to change your lifestyle. So it will be more about the lifestyle, and this is something where Thailand has plenty offer, not only for the traditional knowledge, but also the places that we can have people to go and to visit. We have at least now 3 places where we are about to develop into the landscape, the business, the community business about this medical tourism, you know, with different services to offer. And service is one thing that Thai people are proud of. So I'm trying to connect the dots here and
Mhm.
link from, science in the lab to people's everyday life that can enjoy or benefit from that knowledge. Um, and it could flourish into the new wave of industry. That's what I'm thinking about.
All right. Thank you very much. Uh, yeah, so I think we have other topics we can cover. Of course, unfortunately, we have like a kind of a constrained one episode. So we definitely should do another episode, maybe even more on the continuation of the life science, but also we talked a bit about medical tourism as well. So maybe I think I'll let Dr. Suling give us some final comments. And then I think Dr. Naresh, if you have any other things to add, and then we can end the session. Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to be on the podcast with Dr. Nari. I think I learned a lot about Thailand. Yeah, I think this is one area that we are also looking at very actively, because now we are looking at longevity, right, and aging well. And Singapore is also now in one of the countries in the blue zone area. So my take is that we are now going more upstream, looking at like you say, genomic data of yourself and your lifestyle change, right? So that you have that kind of prevention and aging well. You don't go into the therapeutic space. Yeah. So this is something that we are also focusing on it, because precision health is one of the focus area in RIE 2030 for the next 5 years in Singapore here. Yeah. Over. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Dr. Naresh, any last comments? You're also on mute again.
All right. Well, Jay Park, you know that I started to be very interested in biotechnology when I was 15, learning about the success in the US West Coast, especially the company Genentech, which is now part of Roche. Okay. Um, Today, I feel very happy to see that a lot of things that I was imagining when I was 15 are starting, maybe just starting to become true of us having, a growing new industry, and young people moving in this direction. So, and well, although I'm retired from official position, but I'm again, I'm still happy to be able to contribute. Well, one last thing. Maybe Suling, you didn't know that actually Thai people help building Biopolis and A-Star. Maybe you don't know that. I went to Biopolis sometime when it just started, building up those uh, places and laboratories. And during the visit, I met, I not, I went into part of the under construction, and I saw on the window glass
Yeah.
Thai language written on it. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, and so I realized that, oh, they are workers from Thailand going to Singapore and work there, construction workers, building up the high-tech industry for Singapore. And you know what? Nowadays, the same thing happened, but the other way around. Myanmar people coming to Thailand, Cambodia people, and they are helping us to build all the things that, yeah, the basis of our lives today. So I can see this pattern, and I'm hoping, I really hope that in the future the whole ASEAN would grow together.
Okay.
You know, when we bring, the potential out of these countries that are still maybe today not so developed, but with a mutual exchange of, as Suling said, the talents,
Mm,
yeah, I'd like to see very much we grow as a region.
mm,
That's my wish. Thank
mm.
you.
Hey, wow. Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, so I think it was a very good session. Definitely, I'll invite you both. Maybe you have a part two sometime, and also maybe dive into some other topics as well. So with that, I want to thank both the speakers and of course our audience for tuning in. So see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next
See
time.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.